Okay, everybody. Sorry about that. Had to step out there for a sec. So I'm going to continue on. This is going to be in several, well, hopefully just two parts. um, but I might have to pause this in between again. But this time it'll be a continuous video. Okay, so let me go and share my screen and get back to where we were. So we were establishing this color as our background. And so we made the color, and now I'm going to just name this background. And okay, so we have our color made, and we have our layers all set up. So now we're just simply going to start building this. I'm going to put my layers palette away. And if we look at the first, the finished example, we have a square here. And the square is centered in this 8.5 by 8.5 page. So we'll build that first, and that'll be simple enough. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool here. And we can do it several ways. I'll tell you right now that the rectangle is actually 7 by 7. So if I just draw a square, and I'll hold the shift key down and just kind of arbitrarily draw any size square, it actually fills with that color. But if it didn't, just go to swatches and make sure your fill isn't forward, and then select your background color. And then with the selection tool, if I take this square and I go up here to width and height, okay, with this chain link thing open, okay, not closed, I can just double click in here and type 7. And if I click over here just once, it also types 7, because whatever I type here becomes, whatever the width is, the height becomes, because it's linked. Okay, so they're linked together. So you only have to type in one number here. Just click once in the lower box and it should turn into 7. So I have a 7 by 7 square here. Now I want to center it in the page. Now there's a really quick way to get objects centered in your page, and that's to use these features up here. These are the align features. And see how it says align left edges, align horizontal centers, and so forth. And at first this might look confusing, but you can figure this out. This means that, first of all, you need to align to margins. So over here, this last icon here, click on that and make sure that it's aligned to margins and not aligned to selection. Sometimes it defaults to align to selection, and then these don't work. So make sure it's aligned to margins, and then with this box selected, you can actually watch. This will center it. So I click on this and see how the box centers in the page. Now I'll click on this one, which is vertical centering, and I click on that, and that centers that image into the center of the page. Okay, if I wanted to flush it to the left, I click here, and it flushes to the margin. Flush to the right margin, flush to the top margin, and so forth. So these are very quick ways of getting things centered in the page. Okay, so we have this, and this is going to be our background layer. So we have to come over here, and we have to make sure that it's on our background layer, which it is. Okay, you see how it's a blue outline? Blue and blue here. This is red, green, okay? So if this happened to be on a different layer, I'm going to move this to a different layer. Okay, see how it's green now? So when you drew this and you centered it, if it happened to be on a different layer, and it would be if you had this layer selected when you drew it, it would automatically draw to this layer. Then to move something to any layer, just select it. Okay, and when you select it, you'll see the dot right there, the little square. Just click and move it to the layer that you want. Okay, now you can't see it move, but it is moving. So just click, drag it, and let your mouse go, and it will move to that layer. Okay, So that's done. That background is done. I'm going to lock that now so I don't move it. Okay, now I can't accidentally move it. Okay, the next layer that I'm going to draw is the outer circle. I'll draw the outer circle. I'll select it so that when I draw it, it's going to draw to this layer. And then I'll go over here to my rectangle tool, click and hold, and I'll get the ellipse tool, okay, to draw circles. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a circle, and the way you draw a circle is you hold the shift key down and click and drag. Okay, as I'm dragging, I'm drawing a perfect circle. Okay, I'll let the mouse go first, and then I let my modifier key go. All right, now it drew a circle, and it drew it with a black background and a burgundy fill, which I don't want. I want no fill at all. So I'll pull out my swatches palette. You can see the fill and the stroke here, same thing as over here. And with the stroke selected, I'll make it none. I mean, with the fill selected, I'll make it none. And with the stroke selection forward now, I'll make that none because I don't want a stroke around it. What I do want, though, for the stroke is, no, actually I do want a stroke, and I want it to be white. Okay. But I don't want it to be a solid line stroke. I want the stroke to be dots. And so I'm going to go up here to my, well, first of all, let's make the circle the right size and center it. Okay. So I'll tell you right now that the circle is 4.3 inches. So I'll come over to my selection here. I'll select the circle, and I'll come over to my width and height. And again, with the chain link open, with the chain, linked open, I'm going to type in 4.3. And then I'm just going to click in this box here, and it makes the height 4.3. Then I'm going to come over to my centering and center it vertically and horizontally, and that centers this circle. Then I'm going to come up over here to the point size, and I'm going to make it 8 points. Okay, up here is the thickness of the stroke. And then over here, as far as the stroke style goes, see how it's a solid stroke? I'm going to make it Japanese dots. And that's going to make it look like that. Okay, and if I switch over to my example here, you could see that that's what that outer circle is. It's Japanese dots. Okay. So I'm going to pause this for 1 sec, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back again. All right, so we have this circle here with Japanese dots. And what we're going to do is, if you look at our example over here, we have, if I turn the layers palette on and I isolate the outer circle here by turning everything off, oops, not the background, you can see that I have local bar and grill attached to this outer circle. The inner circle has the Huskie house attached to it. So I'll tell you what, let's do the inner circle first, and then we'll do the outer circle next. So sorry about that. So let's draw this inner circle, and then we'll attach this line, the Huskie house, to it. All right, so we'll go over here, and I'm going to now do my inner circle. So I'm going to lock the outer circle because I don't want to accidentally move it. And I'll target the inner circle. And again, with my ellipse tool here, I'm going to hold the shift key down. And I'm going to draw a circle. Okay. The circle, again, does not want to have a fill to it. So I'll do fill none. And this time, stroke is going to be white. Okay. But the stroke on this circle is going to be, let's see, my inner circle stroke is going to be 9 points, and it's the thick style. So I'm going to choose 9 points, okay? And then the style is going to be the thick style right there. So that's what that looks like. Now the size of this circle is going to be 3 inches. So I'm going to come over here with my selection tool under width and height, and I'm going to double click in here and type 3, and then just click once over here, and that makes it 3 also. So I have this 3-inch diameter circle, and now I'm going to center it in this layout. Okay, so again, I'm going to go to center and center horizontally. Okay, and it's perfectly centered within this. Okay, so these are really cool features right here, because you get everything perfect, and you don't have to worry about kind of measuring and making sure that everything's centered. Okay, so that's done. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the word Huskie House to this inner circle here. And I think it was called the Huskie House. Okay, the Huskie House. All right, so in my layers palette with everything locked except for the inner circle, I'm going to now go over to this tool right here, my type tool, and I'm going to click and hold on this type tool. Now up until now we've been using just the regular type tool, but I'm going to use the type on a path tool. And when I use the type on a path tool, it looks like a little I-beam, but it's got a little dashed kind of diagonal line to it. And I'm going to bring it close to my, close to the circle here. And when I do, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but you're going to see a little plus sign that kind of comes out. And that means you're going to attach type to this shape. And when I do that, I'm going to click once, and you can see the flashing cursor there prompting me to type. Okay, now before I type, I want to set up the parameters of the type, the attributes of the type. What is it going to look like? What size is it going to be? What color it's going to be? And so forth. So once I inserted my cursor here, I'm going to go to several things and get this set up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my typeface here, and I'm going to choose Arial Black. Now, whether you have Arial Black or not, you can choose any. I'm using a sans serif typeface, so Helvetica works, or any bold sans serif typeface is fine. So I'm going to click Arial Black. That's the font that I'm going to use. The size that it's going to be is 18 points. So I'm going to come over to my point size here, and I'm going to make it 18 points. Okay, and you can see it's getting bigger. And over in my swatches palette, I want that type to be white, so I'm going to make it the color of paper. And then over here in the alignment symbols up here, I'm going to make that centered, align centered. And you can hear the sanding in the background. Sorry about that. Okay, so align center. Now, when I hit align center, notice how this cursor dropped to the bottom here. Don't worry about that yet, because we're going to spin this around and get it all centered and perfect. Okay, so once you have that, you can start typing. Now it says the Huskie House, so I'm going to hold down my cap locks key because it's all caps, and I'm going to type the Huskie House. Huskie House. I think it's K-I-E. Is it K-I-E or K-Y? K-I-E, okay. I use K-I-E. All right. So there it is, okay? And it's upside down, but it's attached to this circle. All right. So now what we have to do is we have to spin it around to the top, and it's going to center at 12 o'clock. So how do we do that? What I'm going to do is highlight this text. And no, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the selection tool here. Now, when I grab the selection tool, you can see that, let me zoom in here, maybe we could see this a little easier here. Okay. We can see these two little kind of lines right here. Now, don't click in the middle in this white area here. Only click on the line. But what these lines represent are the beginning and ending of a type box. And when you set type, you always have to draw a type box, right? You have a beginning of the type box and an end of the type box. Well, since this goes around a curve, around a circle, this is the end of the type box and this is the beginning. So if I took this type box and I grabbed this line right here, this right line, and I clicked and I moved it and spread these apart, I'm going to click this one and move it this way. Okay. Because I'm on a centered alignment, this type is always centering between these two lines here. Okay, if you can kind of understand that. So as I move this way, notice how this shifts, and it's always the same space from here to here as from here to here. So think of this as the type box, and every time you move that type box, it's going to center. So in order to get it to center up here, what I really have to do is move this one over to 9 o'clock and move this one over to 3 o'clock. Okay, see how it's moving itself over. So here's 9 o'clock right here, this little handle right there. I know that that's exactly 9 o'clock. So I'm going to grab this and stick it right there on 9 o'clock. And then I'm going to stick this one right on 3 o'clock. Bang, right there. And that makes that word Huskie House centered right down the middle of this layout. Okay, now the problem though is that the word Huskie House is aligning right to the circle. Right on the baseline of that circle is the baseline of this type. So I need to raise this type so it fills into this space up here and centers in this space. Well, that's actually easier than you would think. I'm going to take the type tool again, and this time I'm going to click and highlight this text. Okay, you highlight text around a path the same way as you would highlight text in a straight line. And now I'm going to do a little baseline shift. Now, the baseline of type in typography is the line that all the type rests on. You know, if you draw a line, and that's the baseline of where the type is. So if I raise the baseline of this text, the text all starts raising up. Now, baseline shift is this feature up here. You see the big A and the small a, and you see a little arrow raising that small little a. Okay, and what that does is the more you raise it in points, the higher it gets. So watch what happens as I click this. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5, 6, 7. Okay, you see how the text is raising off above the baseline. This is the original baseline here. Now I can tell you right now that the baseline shift for this particular layout is 16 points. So if I just double click in here and click do 16, okay, and hit return or enter on a PC, it will raise that text enough to center in there. Actually, it looks like it might be able to go more than 16 points, maybe 18 points or whatever, but you can play around with that if you want. In fact, I might just kind of highlight this. Notice when you highlight it, InDesign still thinks it's attached to the original baseline here, so that's why it's highlighting way down here. Okay, it doesn't highlight up here because you've changed it. So I'll go 17, 18. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks nice and centered in there, so that's fine. Okay, so what we did was we took the Type on a Path tool, we clicked here, and we set the text. We moved the edges of the text box around to 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock so that we can center this. And then we raised the baseline of this type up to 18 points so that it's centered in here. Now, another thing that happens when you do this around the outside of a curve is the letters will start spacing out. Okay, it's just a natural thing that happens when you raise text above a curve. Okay, you're going to find out that when we take the other curve, the outer circle, and we put the text on the inside, it smushes the text together. It smashes it together. So we're going to have to make that adjustment, and I'll show you that in a sec. Okay, so the word Husky Houses, I'm going to do Command 0 to back out and see the fit and view. I'm going to click off into white space, and now we have this nice Husky house centered right down the middle. And I'm now going to go to my Layers palette and lock my inner circle. Okay, so I don't accidentally move it. Now I'm going to do this text here. Let me turn all these on again. This is my example here. I'm going to do the local bar and grill text. And if you look at the local bar and grill text, that's attached to the outer circle. So you can see that that's going to go on the inside of this circle. All right, so let's go over here. So I'm going to target my outer circle. I'm going to unlock it. And I'm going to take my Type on a Path tool. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, again, touch this line. And you can see the little plus sign attaching. And I'm going to click once. And there's my text. Okay. And I'm going to set this up again to the same point size and color of all of this. So it's going to be Arial black. It's going to be 18 points. I'm going to make the color of the text white paper. And then I'm going to make the alignment centered. Okay, so it's centering now. And then I'm going to type local bar and grill in all caps. Oops. Something just happened there. That's not right. Arial black, 18 points. Okay, so something is funny here. I'm going to have to find out what's going on here. Let me undo that. Yeah, something's going on that's wrong here. So I'm going to undo everything. Okay, my outer circle is selected. I have my Text on a Path tool. Let me just start typing here. Okay, so something is not right there. I'm not sure why that's happening. I'm getting an overset text icon here for some reason. Okay, I'm going to pause this video real quick and I'm going to kind of troubleshoot what's going on here, and I'll get right back so you don't have to see me go through all of these steps here. So let me just pause the video. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Where we last left off was we just finished the Husky house here. So I'm going to work on the local bar and grill now to the outer circle. So I'm going to lock the inner circle, open up the outer circle, go to my Text on a Path tool, and select my outer circle. Get on my Text on a Path tool and kind of touch the outer circle down here. And I'll click and the cursor attaches to that. And then I'll change my attributes to Arial black to 18 point. I'll go to white as my color, and centered as the type alignment. Okay. Now, when I do that, notice how the cursor jumped up to the top here. Again, don't worry about that because we're going to split those edges of the text box. So I'm ready to type. I'm going to type in local, L-O-C-A-L, bar, and grill. Oops, G-R-I-L-L, okay? And don't worry about where it is because let's do that little trick. Okay, again, here are the kind of edges of the text box here. So I'm going to grab this one here. Again, don't grab these white ones here. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to kind of spin it over here and spin this over here. Let me back out of this a little bit. Now, if I spin this around, this one here, oops. If I grab this and spin this one around, you can see how this is moving. It's always centering between here and here. I'm going to grab this one and spin it all the way around to 3 o'clock. And I'm going to grab this one and spin it all the way around to 9 o'clock. Nine o'clock, 3 o'clock. Get it as close as you can right there. So now this is centered at 12, right down the middle. The only problem is that this is on the outside of this outer circle. We want to flip it to the inside of this outer circle. Now, you might have a little trouble seeing this because I can't zoom in so that you can see my cursor. But right here, I could at least zoom in so that you can see this. But right here, you can see right in the center, this little node right here, there's a line, a vertical line right here that comes off of the baseline of this circle right here where the type rests. You can see the tip of my cursor right there. There's a vertical line that comes down, a blue line. And when you touch it, okay, the cursor changes to an up arrow. And when you grab that line and you click on it and move it up, it goes to the inside of that outer circle. See that line right there? You can see it. And when I grab it and I move it to the below the circle, this is below the circle. Okay, so look for this line right here and drag it up above the circle and this will flip. So we want that to happen because this has to read left to right along the bottom and this is reading left to right along the top. So it's kind of, we still have to read left to right. Okay, so now that this is on the inside of the circle, again, I'm going to go to my type on a path tool and I'm going to highlight this text. And I'm going to give it that same baseline shift of, I think we used 18 points. So up here, I'm going to double click in here and type in 18 and then return or enter. So what it did was it centered this now 18 points off the bottom on the inside of this outer circle. And we have this situation here. The only problem is like I said, when text goes to the inside of a circle, it smashes it and mushes it together. So we need to spread out these letter forms. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to highlight the text. Okay, notice how it highlights way down here because it still thinks it's attached to the bottom of this baseline. I'm going to highlight this text and then I'm going to come over here to my tracking. And tracking is simply spacing letters out individually. So I'm going to come up and go 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, 40 points, okay, until this spaces out. Well, I'll tell you right now, the tracking that I used is 200 points. So I'm going to just double click in there and type 200 and then hit enter. And that spaces out the local bar and grill to the point where, I'm going to get on my selection tool here and click off, to the spacing that looks similar to what's happening here. Okay, it's spaced it out enough where it kind of has this same feel. Actually, it looks like it can probably be spaced out even more. So if I type on a path tool, highlight this, and increase the tracking, maybe, let's say 250. Let's see what that does. Okay. Yeah, that opens it up even more. And then if I click off, okay, yeah, kind of like that better, 250. So it's a baseline shift of 16 points up, 250 points of tracking to match the top curve right there. Now I know all of this is sounding kind of like, wow, man, you have to go through all that work just to do that, but yes, you do. But once you know how to do this, you could do it to anything. And that's how a lot of these badges are done. They're done either in Illustrator or in InDesign. You could do this in just about any software program, but Illustrator is another program you could easily do the same way, same effect. Although Illustrator might have some tricks, some that you can use that maybe can do it better. But in InDesign, this is the way you do it. Okay, so I've got that down. And that's done. So my outer circle now has the local bar grill attached to it. My inner circle has the Husky house attached to it. And now all I have to do is bring in the dog graphic and the established recently, and I'm done. Okay. So I'll lock my outer circle and I'll select the dog graphic circle. Now the dog graphic I'm going to give you, and it's going to be in the assignment. Okay, the assignment that you're going to look for is assignment that says it's going to say let's see, I had it here in a sec before. It's going to say the badge design exercise. I'm going to publish this, and when you click on that, it's going to look like this. And you are going to see this badge logo zip, and that's what you're going to download. When you download the badge logo zip, as you see on my desktop here, and double click and open up the logo badge folder, what you're going to see in that are two files. One that's the screenshot of what it should look like when it's all done. So this is just for reference. And then this right here is going to be the white wolf. Now when you click on this, you're not going to see anything here because it's all white. Okay, everything's white, but it's there. Okay, this is a file, a PNG file. So when you bring that into InDesign, what you're going to do is go to your layers palette, target your dog graphic layer, okay, and grab this, select this white wolf PNG, wolf graphic white PNG, click and drag it over into InDesign. Okay, and there it is, ready to be placed. And what I do is I just kind of click and drag that to about the size that I want. When I let the mouse go, there it is. Okay, again, it's white on white, so you can't see anything, but it is there. And now that it's on burgundy, you can see it. Now, what I'm going to do is drag it up to the size that, it should be. And again, I'll give you the size if you want. It's 2.3 inches. So if I have this selected and I go up to width and height, I'll just type in 2.3. And if I click once in this lower box, because this is linked, okay, it does that. Oh, you know what? It did not enlarge that graphic. It just enlarged the box. Okay, so fortunately that might not work. So I'm going to Command Z that back. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just kind of manually drag this up. So I'll just hit my Command and Shift key down, hold down my, or Control and Shift on a PC, and click hold for a sec, and just kind of slowly drag this up until it's about that size. It's about 2.3, okay, somewhere around there. And then I'm going to use my, again, my alignments here, centered, and centered. And that puts the wolf graphic right centered in the circle. But I don't want it centered in the circle. I want to drop it down because I've got some text that I want to put in here that says established recently. So I'm going to just use my down arrow key and just kind of nudge this down, select this, and just kind of nudge, 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 okay, and bring this down some. And that'll give me some space up here to type in my established recently. Okay. So I'm going to lock my dog graphic, and now my established recently is available. So I can now grab my text tool, and this time I'm going to click and hold and get back to my normal text tool, not text on a path. Okay. Select my established layer, and then I'm going to click and drag a box. Okay. I'm going to center this, and I'm going to use just Arial regular, let's say. And I'll tell you right now that that typeface is about 8 points in size, so I'll go to 8-point type. It's centered, and the text also is going to be in white, in paper. All caps, so I'll type in established. Oops, if I could spell. Hit my return key and recently. I think I used 8 on 11, so I'll highlight this, and instead of 8/9, I'll make it 10 and 11. And that dropped the spacing a little bit, the leading. I'll center it vertically, okay, so it's centered. And then I'll click off and take a look and see how this works with the configuration. So I'm going to hit my W key and get everything off, get all my guides off. I'm going to go to my layers palette now and release my dog graphic layer, unlock that. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to move that down just a couple of ticks. Click off. Maybe move it down just one more. I'm going to click on Establish Recently and bring that down a tick or two. Okay, so I like the spacing of how that's working within this circle. And there it is. Okay, the badge that was created. Now the only difficult part, if anything, was getting this text around the path. And that took a little bit of work, but we figured out how to do that. And then we brought the graphic inside the middle, and we finished it off with the last bit of text right there. We established a color. We put it in our swatches palette, so anytime we use this color again, it will always be in our swatches palette, so we don't have to keep making that up. Now once you've created this, you're going to upload this to Canvas. And you're going to go over to File and Export. Okay. And you're going to export this as a JPEG. So you're not going to save this as, or save. You're going to export as a JPEG. But you're going to also want to save this InDesign file, because right now we haven't saved anything. Notice up here it still says untitled. And that's not something that you want to do. You know, we did a lot of work, and man, if I lost the power on this computer, we'd be in trouble because I would lose this entire file because I haven't saved anything yet. So you know what? I'm going to just go back and save this thing. So File, Save, and we should have done this long time ago, so that we can keep saving along the way. And I'm going to save this as, just say, you know, Husky House. Man, I can't type this morning. Husky House logo. I'll save it to my desktop. You should save it in a folder inside on your main hard drive. And I'll save this to the desktop. InDesign document, that's what I want, and save it. Okay, so there it is right there. The Husky House logo, InDesign document. Now, what you're going to export is a JPEG, and that's File and Export. Not File and Save, but File and Export. So we'll go there. Husky House logo is fine. Format JPEG. Okay, if this is anything else, just click on this little arrow here and make it JPEG. Export it to the desktop. I'm going to save this. You should export it to the same folder that all your files are in. And save. The export range is just page 1, and the quality is fine. Okay, just click Export. And that should appear on your desktop. So we'll look for that. And there it is right there. Husky House JPEG. And then when you go to Canvas and you upload it to this assignment, you're going to upload this JPEG. Okay, you guys all know how to do that, so you know that should be easy enough to do. So the exercise really is to create this in InDesign, to explore, you know, text on a path and like that. And then we'll get into another assignment where you're actually creating a badge yourself. And I'll give you a problem to solve graphically, a design problem to solve. And then you'll create a badge that solves that problem. So that is it. That's the demo. Sorry about the interruptions. And hopefully this second video comes out fairly smooth. Let me stop sharing this. And just say that, wow, I'm getting blown out here by the light. Turn my light off. Exposure here. It's getting brighter outside. Anyway, that's all. And if you have any questions, just kind of inbox me for that. The assignment will be posted. I'll give you a due date. I'll probably give you a week to do this. Maybe next Wednesday this will be due, so you'll have plenty of time. Anyway, watch this video, play around with these features on InDesign, and it's fairly easy to do. So enjoy. Okay? I will see you next Monday. Take care.